You know, I've said this and you know, took a little bit of beating every once in a while, but I don't I don't pray for a lot of things in my life. I don't pray God do this, God do that, because I feel like if God is as smart as we let on, okay. And I think about when I look at things in my life, I think about I'm always looking for things to do for my children.
Right.
I'm looking for
Absolutely.
things. I
Yeah.
mean, if they have a need, I mean, I talk to my wife. I say, how can we help them here? What can we do?
Right.
Okay, and as rotten as I am, so I think about that. All right.
Right.
So if God really is as cool as we let on, then how much more? What is He looking at in our life to try to do for us?
Right. Well, my brother Ray, speaking of him, shared something with me.
I refer to him as Homely Ray.
Yeah, Homely Ray. I totally
He's
agree.
gonna beat me up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, that's okay. We can run faster.
He'll have to
maybe.
get through the window of the car.
He's got to get through the German Shepherd. We're good.
Exactly.
But he said that he read a book about people who prayed, and they asked him, "How do you pray for people?" And this was their reply, and it has changed me. He says, "This is what I pray: God, do what you know and do what you will, and I agree with you."
Yeah.
And you know what? If he is all knowing,
Like
he
we
just
say.
needs us to come in agreement with him.
Yeah.
He don't need our advice.
Yeah. See, I think that
Yeah, just-
so many times so many people won't give him constantly tell him what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, I'm glad he didn't do everything I told him to
Oh,
do.
yeah. So I just, and that's my prayer every morning now over my family, over
Yeah.
do what you know and do what you will. And that's
Yeah.
with my son, with my
Yeah,
daughter,
right.
with my wife, with, my brother. You know,
Right.
do what you know and do what you will.
Yeah.
And I'm in agreement with you. And
That's a hard thing because our mind is so hard to figure because we can't think like God thinks.
Right.
We don't have that kind of CPU. Okay. We can't really
Right.
process it. And I think in my mind, I try my best to have the mind of the Lord,
Right.
but I can only have it for fleeting moments. I would love to have it for longer.
Oh, yeah.
But I just
Yeah.
okay. So we talked about some topics. I'm not sure what they are, but let's talk about this. Let's talk
But
about.
I'm having fun. All right. Just
Well,
let
we
you know.
will.
I'm having fun.
I've got no
Yeah.
money, no job. I try to have fun. I just try. That's why I told my wife we travel a lot, and I said, I don't got no job, don't got no money. I will be sleeping in a Walmart parking lot.
That's right.
What the heck?
Well, let's come to the shed and
So,
record something.
so all right. So let's talk about forgiveness.
Okay.
Okay, I think forgiveness is important. Okay, it's not easy. It should be easier than what it is. But I mean, what's your thoughts about forgiveness?
To have true forgiveness, you're not going to find it in your human nature.
I agree.
You have to tap in to the source of God's love. And to me, that's the greatest thing that I've ever received from God.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's the greatest thing I've received, that should be the greatest thing I give, right?
Right.
Is forgiveness. And like you said, there's that voice, that flesh voice that says you should hold on to it. You should, this and you should that. And you're like, but if I hold on to it, it's hurting me just as bad,
Right.
right? But I will say, out of forgiveness, there's one person that's the hardest to forgive, and that's yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you know you so well, and the devil said, he'll talk that mess that you're not worthy of it.
Right.
You're worthy to give it, but you're not worthy of yourself.
Right.
And probably one of my biggest faults was not forgiving myself, that when my father passed away, I never said I love you.
Right.
I was 16, I'm tough, I don't need to say those words. And back then, those words wasn't shared like they are now.
Absolutely.
It just really wasn't.
Wasn't the same thing.
And so you knew it. You knew he loved you, and he knew I loved him.
Yeah.
But that regret beat me up. You knew he was dying.
Right.
You knew he was leaving this world, and you couldn't say it. And, that voice.
Yeah.
And so then I felt like I had to have more acceptance from people to try to hide my unforgiveness for myself.
Gotcha.
And I was even preaching and had unforgiveness for myself up there preaching.
Right.
Forgive, not realizing the guy in the mirror is the one I really had a problem with, So
It's a
it's
challenge.
tough. It is a
You
challenge.
know, and I've talked to people before about forgiveness, and we share a lot about it. But I mean, and I've talked to people that had situations in their life that I began to share with them. I said, you and yourself cannot forgive that person.
No.
But now there's simple stuff. I mean, if you cut me off in traffic or something. But I mean, but we're talking about things that have been done bad to you, and to forgive somebody. I said you have to go and say, God help me forgive, but I've actually met people that didn't even want to ask the Lord. There's a part of our nature didn't even want to ask God to help them.
Right.
Okay, they wanted to hold on to it. And I said, you understand that it's hurting you in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's hurting you in your relationship with people you love. It's hurting you in every aspect, because if you don't forgive, God can't forgive.
That's right.
So that's
exactly right. Yeah. I mean, and it's plain about that. You know, it's not like that's a gray area. That's
I don't like
plainly
that.
written in the Bible. Yeah. We want to justify why we don't, you know. And I mean, that goes back even in Bible days where men would say, but you know, it's like, no, you gotta let that go, you know.
And it's not easy.
It's not easy, but it takes faith, and that's what builds faith. If you don't use it, you're definitely not gonna, you know.
And you know, I think you got to start it with your mouth. Okay.
Start with the confession.
Start with your
That's
mouth
exactly
and start
right.
confession, not to other people. I don't want to do that. I ain't confessing to nobody, man. I mean, that's
Right.
one thing I've learned preaching is I ain't confessing from the pulpit. Okay, I ain't doing it. I may go in the closet and whisper it, but I am not going to do
Not
it.
doing it with a microphone.
No, sir.
No.
Especially because people will
Yeah.
hear it later, because everything I do is recorded in my whole life.
Right.
And then somebody will play it back and say, "Let me see what he said."
Let me see.
And I don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, when I think about forgiveness, and I think about those things, and I think about in my life how important it is to forgive, because it releases this part of us so we can really begin to enjoy our life better, and we can be. What are some things that really pricked you?
Like anybody else, that sometimes life ain't fair. You see somebody else get something, you know, with something else, and you felt like you deserved it, and which can build up bitterness. And I'm going to tell you, I was talking about this the other day. As a young man, and I think all young men battle with anger. You know, we don't necessarily know how to channel everything about manhood, and so anger becomes a problem. You know, and I was an angry young guy. I was angry and could hide it, but I was angry. Yeah.
Do you think that stemmed back from your father passing away young, or do you think it was just more
Some of it was, well, I'm just going to be honest. I use that as the reason, but I think it's deeper than that.
Right.
I think it was more than just, I think that